Testing. There we go. Now I can hear myself. Okay, very good. So we welcome everyone here this evening. We do have a workshop scheduled at this time. This is a City Council workshop for the purpose of discussing potential plans for the Caldwell Fire Department Station Number 4. So I think we'll have Chief Raleigh here to discuss this and to answer any questions that you may have. So with that, we'll just go ahead and turn it over to you. Just to remind everyone, this is a workshop, so there'll be no final decisions made at this time. This is just for information only for the council and for the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, member of the city staff and community members from Caldwell. My name is Rick Frawley, the fire chief, and I come before you today in this workshop session to talk about our planning process and engagement process as we look to the future of fire department facilities and ways that we can navigate through the growth that we're seeing as a fire department. Today I bring forward to you this proposal and this engagement plan that we're developing for your consideration. In the future, I'm going to bring back to a future council meeting the intent to engage in further research and further data mining from our community to make sure that we can address the needs that we're seeing as a fire department. Next slide, please. Thanks, Brent. So as we analyze our needs as a fire department, we look at several factors. We look at our infrastructure, and we recognize that we do have some aging facilities. Specifically, Fire Station 1 was built in 1966. We've reached maximum capacity for that facility. With the in-service of our new fire truck, which is tentatively scheduled for the end of March, beginning of April, we've reconfigured that building so that we can actually have 7 firefighters and then 2 paramedics from Canyon County staged and staffed in that facility. Adjacent, or in addition to that challenge, it's also reached the end of its structural life when it comes to infrastructure in the building itself. When you look at the electrical systems, the plumbing systems, and the HVAC systems within that facility. So we've identified that as a need. We've also identified the need to relocate to an area where we have a bigger footprint so we can have more collaboration with Canyon County paramedics as well as Caldwell Police. We're also looking at challenges of facilities that meet our growth. One of the pieces that we've identified in a recent partnership with a developer in the Lake and Karcher area is property that's been identified for an additional station, Station 4. Part of that agreement or part of that partnership is going to be working collaboratively with the Nampa Fire Protection District to have a co-housed, co-located facility, sharing the facility between both agencies. That is still a work in progress. We're sharing a training chief with that agency. We have a fire academy with 8 recruits in the academy with 8 of their recruits currently. We're working very closely together, and our goal is to continue that partnership as we build facilities, as we look at regionalization as a way that we can share costs, and that includes facilities. We also have challenges with response times. We've seen an approximately a 30% increase in call volume in the last 5 years. And we're starting to see an incremental uptick in call volume. We're identifying hotspots. Some of those hotspots in difficult to serve areas are along the Lake and Karcher corridor, hence Station 4 being a really great location. We're also looking at challenges in terms of service in the rural district. As the rural district areas continue to grow, we're looking to increase our footprint in that area as well in terms of facilities and notice. Locations, proposed locations. For Station 1, we would like a location to support the core area and the needs of Caldwell. We've been in a review process to look at areas that would keep that fire station within the core area of Caldwell, close to downtown, but also with a bigger footprint that's going to meet our needs for training as well as for expansion. We're also looking at utilizing that for administrative facilities, so we'd have our admin facilities be part of that station. Additionally to the fire station with our Nampa partnership, this addresses increasing call volume along the Karcher corridor, and it supports our needs throughout the community because as we grow, we have a higher increase in call volume in terms of multiple units responding to an event. So having that facility will support our needs in terms of having resources at that station. Next slide, please. So on this slide here, you can see 3 of our conceptual projects. We're looking at Station 4. The picture you see in front of you is currently Nampa Station 6, which is being built down on Roosevelt. I took that earlier today, actually. And so it's very similar to our Station 3. One of the ideas, or one of the concepts of saving money is to look at ways that we can utilize existing plans, existing process that works. So this is conceptually one of the areas that we'd bring forth for engagement with the community, to see what the community level of engagement would be for supporting funding options for a station like Station 4. Station 1, you can see in the center, this would be part of a phased approach. We believe that phasing development and phasing growth is important for us as an organization, because we can't build multiple facilities at the same time. We want to make sure we build a plan that's sustainable and achievable. And then the final piece would be Station 3. Down the road, Station 3 has the ability to actually have additional bedrooms added to Station 3. So in 5 years' time, as call volume increases, this would be a very good option for us in looking for additional options. But again, this has to be validated with the community, with community outreach, and making sure that we're addressing the needs. Next slide, please. So some of our strategies to find what the community is looking for. We want to make a community endeavor. So we want to make outreach to all of our partners and make sure that we have community outreach within the community to identify what our needs are. We're also going to work with engaging our current partners. That includes Nampa, Canyon County, the Caldwell Rural Fire Protection District, Nampa, Midstar. We want to have a collaborative approach when it comes to all of our stakeholders so that we can share costs, but we can also have a shared vision. We don't want to necessarily place a station in one location that's not going to benefit all of the areas that it's being served. And then we want to exercise a phased approach, as I mentioned earlier. We want to build a plan that meets the needs of the community, that addresses the response needs, but also is clear and identified to the community so there aren't any surprises. Next slide, please. So look at the timeline, and this is tentative, but we're looking at 2023, educating the community and determining projects and funding support that the fire department could utilize for future planning. Moving forward with our collaboration with our partners, hopefully with Clearwater, and I'll introduce Clearwater to you in a second, looking at ways that we can navigate through educating and getting information from the public so that we can go and seek additional funding options. 2024, we could initiate construction of Station 4, ideally, and then 2025, Station 4 would be completed, initiate Station 1, and then 2026 would be possibly Station 3, or it could be a station in the Greenleaf Notice area or the Farmway Village area as we look for options for different funding with different agencies. Next slide, please. So expected outcomes. We want to have effective community resource use. So we want to talk to our community members and find out what their concerns are, what their needs are. We want to be transparent, and we want to communicate to them about our needs when it comes to emergency response and resources and what our projections are. We want to communicate and collaborate, build good partnerships with our community. We want to have timely responses in that communication pathway, and then ultimately build and seek approval from our community so that we can fund additional resources, so we can fund the structures we need for our firefighters, and that we can look to the future. The next steps would be, next slide please, would be to educate, make outreach to the community, working with our information team. We want to learn from the community what their concerns are, what their desires are within the community. We want to share our plan, and then we want to grow, and that's going to be working with the community, hopefully in the fall of this year, for funding options. Part of our journey and part of this growth process as we plan is working with our partners from Clearwater Financial. I've been working with the team from Clearwater for the last month or so. This is a team, and they'll talk to you about their history of working with different fire departments. They've worked with STAR in the past for their bond issues and their process and their development of the needs within the community. And so they came highly recommended. So I've been able to build a good working relationship, and they've been able to help me understand what the needs are within the Treasure Valley. So I'd like to hand it off to my Clearwater Financial partners, and they're going to come up and talk to council unless there are any questions before I hand off.
Any questions?
Mr.
Yes,
Mayor,
Councilor Stoddard.
just so I'm clear, so To go back to, Station 1, you're just gonna refurbish that station, or
No.
it's
Coun-
gonna be off the,
Ideally, Councilmember Stoddard would like to relocate Station 1 to another location that is close to downtown that has a bigger footprint, where we can actually have more apparatus and more dorm rooms. What we've done with Station 1 right now to meet our needs is minimal adjustments to the living space so that we can put our truck in service. We want to make sure that we maintain that delivery by kind of restructuring some of the bedrooms.
okay. So that'll be a building then that the city owns and we can sell off and kind of offset some of the costs then, so.
Yeah, there'd be lots of different options that we could do. So,
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
sir.
good. Did you have a question, Councilor Williams?
Yes, thank you. Chief, at one point, we were asking the developer for a little more property where Station 4 is proposed so that there might be room for a police substation as well. Is that concept still part of what is being planned out there?
Yes, sir. As we move forward with Station 4, we're still identifying, there's a last piece of property that the developer was working on that they wanted to secure. In any facility that we build, we want to make sure that we have some level of police substation footprint in that facility, depending on the size. Ideally, a full substation would be the goal, but depending upon the size, we may have to adjust that.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Chief? Okay, very good. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Hello, Mayor and council members. Thank you for letting us come and present to you today. My name is Jace Perry with Clearwater Financial, and wanted to share a little bit about our firm and kind of our role to help potentially help the city and the chief with this plan and implementing the plan, and ultimately engaging the public in a manner to educate and also get their feedback and support for how you as a council decide to move forward. We were established in 2015. We're a municipal advisory firm located here in Idaho, and a couple of key things about that is, one is we have a fiduciary responsibility to our clients. So we are registered with the MSRB, and the SEC governs us and oversees us, and we have a responsibility to act in the best interest of our clients in all the decisions, the advice that we give, and the work that we do, and a duty of care, which requires us to make sure that we have the proper expertise available to provide the services that we offer. And it's important baseline for us and the service that we provide to Idaho municipalities. Just to introduce the team. All right. So a couple other members of the team want to introduce you to. Myself, Jace Perry. Christy Stoll is also with us today, and she'll share a little bit about the public engagement work that we do. And then Cameron Ariel, also the president of Clearwater Financial, and then some of you may have had an opportunity to work with Cameron in the past. Our backgrounds are a wide variety of finance, accounting, public works, public engagement. We've had a lot of experience throughout Idaho, helping different municipalities and doing different types of work, which has been a great opportunity. Just a little bit more about us. Our mission is helping individuals and governments achieve their potential. We really want to see those that we work with be their best, and ultimately, if those city officials that we work with are doing their best, then the city gets to do its best, and that's the best for the community. So that really drives us. We do have our core values: connection, accountability, respect, and ethics. We try to live to those as best we can. We believe in the connection with our clients and ultimately with the community, and then having that respect for feedback both ways, and then also ethics is a part of everything that we do. A little overview of the suite of services. We offer quite a few different things, but for today, really focusing in the public relations area and helping with public engagement. So this is kind of an overall plan of the process for that we go through to help our clients with long-term facilities planning. Chief has already gone through a lot of the planning phase and presented to you today some of the plans that are in effect with Station 4, Station 1, and Station 3. And our role really would come into this phase 2, the campaign process, the public engagement campaign. Really with the focus of that campaign is, one,
to educate, to make sure that the information about this, the plans are surrounding the stations, about the need of those stations, that the community understands that they have the facts, they have that real information, and ultimately also getting feedback from the community. Where's the support? How would they like to move forward? Is there one station that maybe is more sensitive than another? Is there funding opportunities that the community is more amenable to than others? Ultimately, if there is a financing involved with that, that's a community's decision, and having their feedback and having them be fully educated in that process is very important. So that's the role that we play in engaging with the community, getting that feedback, educating ourselves, and then ultimately, once we get that feedback from the community, we build a campaign that we're able to adjust based on their feedback. What information do we get back from them? And then taking those facts, outlining a plan with the facilities, working with you, council, as your priorities are around that as well, and then build a plan using different multimedia outlets to share that with the community and educate. So in doing this process, it's really essential for support. Ultimately, if the community is not behind these projects, then that's going to be headwinds. There's going to be headwinds for you as individuals and your council seats. It's going to be headwinds for the city, for the chief, to be able to move forward in accomplishing these tasks. And ultimately, they're the decision maker. So that's why we feel it's very important to engage the community early on in the process of long-term facilities and the path and the process in doing that. And following that process, it takes time. The idea behind this isn't necessarily to go out and say there's a need right away and you got to make a decision public, whatever that may be, whether it's a vote for a financing or if there's another way about building this new facility. If it's savings, it's a big commitment by the city. If that's an immediate response, then the public, they may not be behind that because they don't have the opportunity to really understand what that's all about. So taking that, going through the process and that timeline, we usually see success over that 8 to 12 month period to go through all the steps, get that feedback, educate, and be ready to move forward with that plan. And to talk a little bit more the details of public engagement and some of the tools that we use, Christy Stoll's going to share some of those.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for having us today. I think both of the gentlemen did a really good job of laying out, what we do for public engagement, but I did want to just go to the next slide. So there is a 10-step process that we go through with clients, and we really like to start with an open mind. And we ask that of ourselves as with our clients. And as Jace and the chief had spoken previously, it's really important to have the public's opinion. So we need to educate them, and we need to listen to them, and we need to learn. And so we're not just jumping forward saying this is how it's going to be, and this is what our thought is on how we're going to get there. We first educate, listen and learn, and then make some recommendations based on what your community is able to support, willing to support, and on board with. So there's 10 steps, and each step has a various set of things that we might do. But the first is to discover. So we look at the research that your community has currently done, what the fire chief and his staff have looked at. So, that might be looking at existing documents, looking at your needs as he spelled out, aging facilities, locations, response times, that sort of thing, looking at cost logistics, and then looking at plans. Next, we look at scheduling. So we look at project timelines. What could those look like? How soon do they need to come? In what order? And as the chief has planned out, he has a certain order, which makes sense for the needs of this community that he would be educating the community on. Demographics, so we research your community members and everything from, do they come vote? Do we need to talk to them? How do we get to them? How do we educate them where they are? That sort of thing. So who are they, and what are their opinions, and how can we better reach them? Then we also look at different ways to reach them, which could include surveys. So we might be able to send out a survey, have public meetings, meaning town hall meetings where we can go through the plans and answer questions and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of different ways we might be able to do that, but interviews also are important. So sitting down with community members and asking their opinions and saying, here's an idea for this station, what's your opinion on that? After we do some of this pre-work, then we would build the campaigns, whatever, and really that comes after we learn what we learn. We're not really sure what we're going to learn, right? So we need to keep an open mind. And so we would build a campaign, and then we deploy some of those messages through lots of different channels. It could be the news, it could be mailers, it could be things that come out in water or public utility billings, that sort of thing, to let people know, hey, we've got some information on our website, here's where you can go learn more. So it's a continual conversation. And as Jace had mentioned, this does take time. So this would be, 8 to 12 months of education and learning and hearing feedback so that there wouldn't be any surprises and there would be very transparent. And then, as we're going along, we're analyzing what we're hearing. So we're putting some information out, we're educating the public, and then we're listening and we're analyzing and we're tweaking the ideas. We're going back and saying, okay, well, we thought this, but we heard this. So what does that mean for the plan? And then we're going back and revitalizing the plan and going from there. We're pivoting accordingly. And we're doing that throughout. So we're going to be asking and listening and analyzing throughout. And so the city will learn what we've learned, and so will the fire chief and so forth. So what maybe happens is we go in thinking, here's where we think we're going to go, but then we hear something else, and so we might come up with a better option. We're just not quite sure. And then all of this culminates and lets us know what the support level is. So where are the community support? Is it for all three stations in the order that we had said? Is it something completely different that we hadn't thought about? Where is the support? So we'll know. And then from there we can make an educated decision on how we want to proceed with our plans. And so we, as mentioned, we did fairly recently work with STAR, and we were able to help them secure an 80% support for their buildings, which was great. And there was a lot of public outreach that we did, videos and surveys, mailers, town hall meetings, that sort of thing. And so we really took the time to learn what the community was concerned with and what they were willing to support. And ultimately that did help with their passage of being able to build what they needed to build. So there's just a few examples up there about, ways to deploy. There's lots of different ways, and likely not all of them would be used. We would analyze which would be the biggest opportunity in this community. But always clear, concise, and consistent messaging and education is really important. And so those are just some general thoughts about how we might be able to help you with public engagement in this process. But we're happy to stand for any questions that you might have.
Yeah, and I don't know if Chief Rowley, if you had any last comments also on that before we see if there's any additional questions from.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank council for the opportunity to bring forth this information and have a discussion and a conversation about the vision of trying to build for plans for the future for the fire department. I'm looking forward to an opportunity to educate and research and engage the depth of what the community is looking for as we present options and we look for ways to meet service delivery. My goal and my plan would be to bring back information at the next council meeting for approval, resolution to approve to move forward with engagement with Clearwater, and to start that research process and to do that deep dive so we can identify the community's needs and wants and palette for growth. And I stand for questions.
Very good, excellent, thank you so much. Any questions? Councilor
Mr. Mayor, Chief Rowley, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I went to a seminar on fire station architects with Chief Wendelsdorf at that time. Did he pass any of that information down to you when you guys traded jobs as
I
far
I
as
do,
cookie cutter stuff?
I do have some of that information, and the intent would be to definitely take some of the lessons learned from our Station 3 and apply those same development pieces to our new facilities as well.
Okay, because the purpose behind that was to, you know, save the taxpayer money, that
Mhm.
each city didn't have their own architectural stuff that they had to do and all that, so it'd be a lot, like I say, it would save money for the taxpayer.
Yes, sir. And in fact, we have the architect that we used for Station 3 and the contractor for Station 3 that's building the Nampa station. They're also coming out to visit next Monday, and we're going to be doing an assessment of all our facilities, including the fire station in Notice on Monday. And that's part of our research. Again, we don't want to replicate work that's already been done. If somebody's got that knowledge and we have the plans, it makes it a lot easier.
Okay. The other question I had is, other than sound, what are some of the cons that maybe the Clearwater people can answer that relative to the people that are living around the fire stations? I'm not up to date on that.
Well,
Maybe you know
I mean,
too.
I think the only challenge that you face, other than is educating and making sure that the members of the community are aware that when you do build a fire station, that you have the sound, the lights, the activity. We try to be really mindful of that, especially in our new station, Station 3, because we make sure the lights turn on and off and the outside speakers are turned off. Probably the bigger challenge, I think most members of the community appreciate having public safety facilities closer, because in the event of emergency, you're a closer facility. I don't see necessarily a downside other than making sure that you communicate as you go into a community, and that people are aware that, these are the things that happen in a fire station in terms of sound, activity, and response.
Plus, it saves them some money on insurance too.
Yeah.
Closer you are, the better it is. So.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Sure, yeah, for sure. Any other questions? Okay, excellent. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
sir.
And thank you so much, Clearwater, for being here. We appreciate that presentation. Look forward to discussing this further in the very near future.
Thank you, sir.
So, thank you so much. Okay, so we have just a minute, so we'll go ahead and end this workshop at this time, and we'll be back in just a few minutes to begin our regularly scheduled city council meeting.
Part of the consult contract. How are you? How's the golf deal? I hear you're still in the black. Yeah, that's good. That's great. Hey, I'm good. How are you? Are they going to talk anymore, or have you guys talked about expanding Triple Sage to some more 9 holes, or another 9 holes? No. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, see, that's what I remember. That's not gonna happen. Okay. Yeah.
I did, yeah, he's pretending like it's not. So if you don't mind, if you please come forward and offer a prayer for us, for those that all stand, and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Father, we come to you now in the name of Jesus, and we ask for wisdom, we ask for knowledge, we ask for peace, we ask for protection. Father, I thank you that you give each and every one of us wisdom in every situation that we're dealing with. Thank you that you give all the answers and have all the answers. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much for that. We very much appreciate it. You have a great evening. Madam Clerk, if you'd please call the roll.
Doty,
Here.
Dottie,
Here.
Register,
Here.
McGee, Williams.
Here.
Very good. Thank you so much. We have 5 city council members present. Councilman Allgood is not able to be with us this evening. Are there any conflict of interest declarations from any members of the council regarding an item on the agenda this evening? Very good. So with that, we do have some amendments to the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
so I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda. There's 3 changes. We'd like to do an additional special presentation tonight by Gals regarding the Gals Quad Lighting Project. Also, to the consent calendar, to amend the consent calendar by moving items 7, 8, and 14 to new business for additional discussion. And the new business amendment would be amend the new business by removing action item number 3 from the agenda.
Very good. So we have a motion. Do we have a second? Very good. So just a quick explanation, because I believe there are a few people here for that new business action item number 3. So with this amendment, we will have the additional special presentation. Thankful for Don to be here for that. Then also moving items 7, 8, and 14 to new business. And then removal of action item number 3 from new business. The action item number 3 was the proposal regarding the Caldwell Executive Airport Board of Commissioners. And we apologize for the lateness on that. Our good attorney, who we trust very much, recommended that we continue that, take that off the agenda at this time, as there are some matters that we need to clear up in city code. So we want to make sure that we do things the right way, the legal way on that. So we will be, the motion, if approved, is going to remove that. So there'll be no discussion this evening on action item number 3 regarding the Executive Airport Board of Commissioners on that. So, because I believe there are a few people here that were here for that item specifically. So that will not be taken up this evening, and we'll be looking at our code to make sure we get that correct before we move forward with anything in that regards. So we do have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, if you, or actually, no, we can just do this. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that motion passes, and the agenda has been amended. So with that, and if there are people that were here for that, we do again apologize. It was kind of a last minute thing, but we do want to make sure we get that right in regards to our code. So we do have then now 2 special presentations. So our first one we'll do is a proclamation and letters of support in regards to Marcys Law. I will read this proclamation, and then after that, we have Chief Ingram. We appreciate him and helping to spearhead this and move this forward. I give him a few minutes to read something, and then there are a few folks here from Marcys Law, so we'll allow them a minute or 2 also to come and speak. So this proclamation, again, it's Marcys Law for Idaho. Whereas Marcys Law for Idaho and advocacy organizations statewide are dedicated to guaranteeing victims' rights and providing a voice. And whereas Marcys Law for Idaho supporters agree victims should always be treated with fairness and respect throughout the criminal justice process, protected from the defendant, reasonably heard at public proceedings, given a voice through the process of the case. And whereas, per the Idaho State Police in its most recent 2020 Idaho Statewide Crime Profile Report, a total of 17,955 crimes were committed against Idahoans, and a total of 4,484 violent crime offenses were reported to law enforcement, including murder, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault. And whereas Marcys Law for Idaho will ensure that victims receive the same rights that are afforded to criminals and have rights to notification of release from probation and parole, hearings, and the legal standing in court to assert their rights. And whereas victims' rights is a nonpartisan, non-political issue, and Marcys Law for Idaho is a common-sense approach to ensuring victims' rights. Now, therefore, I, Jerem Wagoner, Mayor of the City of Caldwell, do hereby proclaim our support for Marcys Law for Idaho and its goal and commitment to ensuring crime victims be guaranteed equal constitutional rights in our justice system, in and for the City of Caldwell, and encourage all of our citizens to join in the commitment to protect the rights of Idaho crime victims. Very good. Chief Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. So obviously, crime reduction is a priority for the police department in any jurisdiction or county or state. And oftentimes in this industry, we forget about the victims. We focus a lot on the suspects, we focus a lot on the environment, but we all too often we forget about our victims. So earlier this month, I wrote a letter to you, Mr. Mayor, to support the Marcys Law and Victims Advocacy Program in the state of Idaho, and to show them that we actually support them, and this is what we live for. You know, we live for victims. And then, so I'm going to read the first letter that I wrote to you, and then I'm going to read a letter on behalf of the Idaho Chiefs of Police Association, which we got them to draft a letter as well. So the first letter from me is, Dear Mr. Mayor, the Caldwell Police Department is committed to ensuring that our community is a safe place for all to live, work, and play. In doing so, we must recognize and cherish our victims and survivors by supporting them with legislation at the state level. As you know, Marcys Law would ensure victims' basic rights as they navigate the judicial process, making them co-equal with that of the accused, nothing more, nothing less. While we have statutory victims' rights legislation in Idaho, this legislation is not always universally applied or enforced. Marcys Law would change that by providing some very basic constitutional level protections for victims in Idaho, including 1, the right to be informed about and being able to speak in certain court proceedings such as bail hearings and plea agreements. 2, the right to be notified when the accused has a change in custody or is released from prison. 3, the right to a reasonable protection from the accused. And lastly, the right to full and timely restitution when applicable. On behalf of the Caldwell Police Department, I hereby declare our support and endorsement of Marcys Law legislation for the great state of Idaho. The next was dated February 15th of this year, and it's addressed to you, Mr. Mayor, from the Idaho Chiefs of Police Association. And it reads, in part, Dear Mr. Mayor, the Idaho Chiefs of Police Association is committed to ensuring that the community is a safe place for all to live, work, and play. In doing so, we must recognize and cherish our victims and survivors by supporting them with legislation at the state level. It goes on to talk about what I mentioned in my letter, and then lastly it says, on behalf of the Idaho Chiefs of Police Association, I hereby declare our support and endorsement of Marcys Law legislation for the great state of Idaho. Now, the important thing is to understand that this legislation has been endorsed by over 100 different agencies across the state. We're one of the last ones, and so is the Idaho Chiefs of Police Association. So I'm super proud to be able to stand here in front of you, in front of Mr. Hibb from Marcys Law. Thank you. And really just talk about this and what we do for our victims out there. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Hibb at this point.
Very good. Thank you so much. And if you don't mind, just state your name and then also the organization you represent.
My name is Matthew Hibb, and I'm the state director for Marcys Law for Idaho. I just want to say that there's really not a whole lot for me to say after he literally explained what this is for. I am very proud to be here today because you guys are just amazing, and it's wonderful to see that this community is supporting crime victims' rights. I've been spending a lot of time in Caldwell just for other reasons, and there's a couple good coffee shops here. And one thing I could say about Caldwell is I feel safe here, and it's very clear that you guys have a culture of safety. You have a culture that cares about crime. But like he said, we got to make sure that the victims are taken care of. And I'm trying to make a run through every place that we haven't had a chance to talk to, and I'm glad that we're here. So thank you so much to the mayor, the council, and the chief. I truly appreciate all of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Before you walk away, I think
Got some bracelets.
very
for
good. If
you.
you want to hand those out, and then we're going to get a picture with the chief and with you and with this proclamation. I'm going to bring all these officers up here. Yeah, sounds great. Give Debbie one. I need one here.
No, I'm with Marcys Law. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I thought you were one of the officers.
Are you playing bingo over there?
Behind the podium, sorry, you guys all maybe kneel down in the front, I'm sorry. No, yeah, is it easy to?
If you really? Why?
Say cheese.
Oh.
Okay, are we ready? Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, they look like they're ready.
1, 2, 3, let's do it one more time. You're gonna get it.
They didn't look at that. I know.
Maze right
They
there.
didn't have that right here when you were early in the sixties. He didn't have that right here. He was wearing khakis.
Very good. Thank you again for that, Chief Ingram, and Marcys Law of Idaho for bringing that forward and that information. It is definitely something needing to be done, and we're grateful to, happy to put our support behind that. So it's a wonderful thing. So our next item is another special presentation that was added through our amended agenda, and that is for a special presentation for GALS regarding the GALS Quad lighting projects. We appreciate Don for being here. Don, do you mind coming up to the microphone? So Don has put in a number of years with GALS softball. For those that aren't familiar with it, it's one of the top softball programs for youth in the entire Northwest, not just Idaho. So maybe, do you mind taking just a few minutes and explaining a little bit about GALS and your involvement and how long you've been doing that?
We started GALS in 1983. There was 5 of us that started it. Boys had their programs. We were involved in the boys to start with our sons and that type of thing, but there was not any organized program for the girls to participate in. And when we first started, it was slow pitch, and now it's fast pitch. But with the 5, our first year, we had 4 teams, and we played down in the old football field, 3 down bases and that at College of Idaho. And then it progressed from there. Currently, we're the largest girls fast pitch organization in the Northwest. We have somewhere between 800 to 850 girls that participate in our program during the summer. And we put on some 4 or 5 tournaments. We've been very fortunate to host state tournaments every year. In fact, this year we've been awarded 2 state tournaments, bringing teams in from all over the state. And Spokane, as of 3 years ago, is part of Idaho now. And so the teams from Spokane bring a lot of business and that type of thing in. And I'm currently I was one of the founders, but currently the co-president with Al Mendiola with there. I would like to present to the city of Caldwell towards the lighting project at the quad. We lost the lights inside, for those that didn't know, that windstorm about 2 years ago on the interior lights. And we're going to purchase new ones. I'd like to present a cashier's check for $50,000 from GALS.
Good. Yeah, yes.
Right, on.
hand and we gotta take a picture.
She can be on pipe like that. Thank you.
Excellent, great, thank you.
So a huge thank you to Don as he's walking out real quick. So just to really step up on for GALS and to do that, we love to collaborate with people, to do things together, and we've talked about this. I know this has been talked about for a long time, and so it's just neat to come to fruition. So I think the lights have been ordered, correct, Mr. Orton?
The mayor directed the public works director to order the lights 2 weeks ago.
And there comes the Paul Harvey riff.
I haven't done that yet. I called the company today and said, I just need a little more information from him to be able to make the order, but sorry, Mayor.
That's all right. It's going to happen soon, I have a feeling.
Had
So
on it people, it would be done by now.
that's right. So we got the check now. So, but yes, so those will be coming. And so, with those lights, they do this great tournament. It's and I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, it goes for like 36 hours straight. So they play through the night, literally. So you may have a game at 1 in the morning, a game at 6 in the morning, and without the lights, they haven't been able to do that the last few years. So that's a big event. So they'll be able to do that. Should be able to do that this summer. So we're excited to bring that back, and that brings in hundreds of teams from around the entire Northwest. And obviously that's great for Caldwell, because they need hotels and restaurants to eat at and places to spend money, and we would gladly provide all of that for them. So it's a great thing. We're excited to partner with GALS and with Dawn, and it's neat when an organization steps up like that and really pays a good portion of what the cost is going to be for this. So we're excited to continue to enhance GALS and other facilities out there. So again, thanks to Don for all he's done and the number of years he's done that. So okay, so that moves us on to audience participation. So we do have a few people signed up. So on this, it looks like Pamela Williamson to discuss 10th Avenue status. So if you want to come forward, just state your name, and then you'll have 3 minutes to discuss that.
Hi, I'm Pamela Williamson.
I live at 4606 Settlers Avenue, which is on the corner of 10th and Trailside. I'm on the corner, right there on the corner. I came in a few council member meetings back and was asking the status of what was going to be happening on the house development on 10th Avenue by Valley View Middle School. From what I'm understanding, I heard about a year ago that they were supposed to be putting 840 houses in that area that was fertile farmland. Last week, they started doing construction and blocked off 10th Avenue up by Homedale, which is bringing all the traffic down my street, and they're going pretty fast down my street. Because everybody's confused about which way to go, how to do it. There's detour signs all over the place. So the reason why I'm here is because I live on the opposite side of 10th Avenue, where my fence is the common area of 10th Avenue. I'd like to find out how much construction they're going to be doing on 10th Avenue, if I'm going to be losing part of my backyard, if you're planning on widening 10th Avenue to 2 lanes instead of the 1 lane that it is, and am I up for possibly losing my house because you're going to need part of that road to make for the traffic, for all that traffic that's going to be happening on 10th Avenue. Because if so, I'd like to also find out, because I have a storage area that's right up against, almost on my fence, that I just put in a year ago. Paid $2,000 for a slab for it to be put on, and it's right up against the fence. So if you're going to take part of that common area behind my house, you're going to have to move my shed for me. And also, the noise is getting pretty bad on 10th Avenue because of all the traffic and everything. So I'm wondering if they're planning on building a sound barrier wall to block out the noise from the traffic off of 10th, so I can live in privacy and a point of quietness. Or I just would like to know what's going on. I mean, I'm left in the dark here, and everything's starting to happen. You developed the road about 6 months ago, and you put turning lanes in on the road because it was single lane in, single lane out. So you put the turning lanes so we could turn in to West Valley Estates, which is right off the 10th and Trailside there. So I'm just kind of wondering what's going to happen here because there's so much development going on, and I don't know what's going on, and I'd like to know ahead of time if you're planning on taking my backyard, because if so, I'm planning on selling the house before you give me a bid of less than what the house is worth.
So hopefully we've planned right, because it wouldn't just be your house, it'd be dozens of houses along there. So, but the gentleman that should have those answers is that handsome young man in the white shirt right there. So he is our public works director. So him and Rob McDonald, our city engineer, would know all the answers to that as far as what is the ultimate plan for 10th Avenue as far as widening, things of that nature. I'm going to guess it's pretty set for that area because you'd have houses on both sides.
Correct.
If
We
you're
have
wanting
cobblestone across the street, and then we have ours, which is 308 houses in the HOA complex there. But I'm just worried about along that line right there on 10th Avenue because it's a lane, and like a little bike lane, and then you have the sidewalk, and then the grass, and then my fence is right there. So that's why I say I'm having a lot of problems with the noise now with everybody ripping out of there, and because the speed limit's 45 miles an hour, so they're pretty much going pretty fast, you know, and then they come down our street because 10th Avenue is blocked off, and they're flying around my corner and flying down the residential area, and it's supposed to be 25 miles an hour.
Yeah. So what we could do, I think we best, we'll have, so Mr. Orton is his name. I don't know if you have a business card you provider. So it sounds like there's some construction happening at 10th and Homedale. So what we can do is go out there and look at, because when they do that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brent, they should provide a traffic plan. If they're shutting down a street, they need to show where are they going to direct the traffic and where should it go. So it sounds like maybe that they're not doing that, at
So a
least not
detour
correctly.
right there
So-
at the stop sign as you come off a trail side onto the 10th, and then there's another one farther down that says detour this way, and everybody's going down and turning around because they don't know that the other street goes all the way through to U-Stick. So they're all going around the corner and they're getting upset. because they can't get out of off of, through 10th Avenue off Homedale,
Mhm.
and they're going around the streets. And like I said, they're coming pretty fast around that corner sometimes where,
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous that they're gonna come up over the sidewalk and end up on my front yard or something,
So it sounds like maybe we need a little better signage out there. So we can definitely do that. Brent can look into that and see who's
That
the
would be
company out
great.
there and provide maybe some keep going type sign says, don't worry, keep going, you're gonna get
Right.
there. So, but yeah, we can definitely look into that.
That
So,
would be fantastic.
yeah, for
Okay.
sure, definitely.
And then with the zoning and everything that's going on, I should just kind of wait another 5 or 6 months and then contact him and ask him what the process is gonna be on 10th Avenue?
Yeah, him and also Robin Collins, who's our planning and zoning director, so he can give you her contact info. So anything with zoning, with housing, things of that nature, Robin Collins would be your contact. Anything with streets, things of that, would be Mr. Orton
Okay,
on that.
great.
Very
Okay.
good. Thank you so much for
fantastic.
coming
Okay.
down. So, and we'll get you that information and look into that for sure.
Your
So
time, committee, and
yeah.
mayor, I appreciate it, I really do.
definitely, thank you so much. And also Mr. Brian Allen had signed up in regards to something up on Big Sky. Is that correct? Yes. So if you want to come forward, you have 3 minutes on that to discuss your item.
Hello, I've got a packet for each one of the council members, and, I live up on 211 North Alaska. I'm here concerning 2404 Big Sky. I've been dealing with this residence, since 2003. I moved into my residence when I retired from the service in 1993. When they moved into this residence in 1993, the owner of the house, which her name is Bonnie Thornton, her son is Jeremy Yelm, which I'm sure a lot of these officers know the address and the guy. Also, one of the people that have been frequenting the house just got arrested and is in the Canyon County Jail for parole violation. His name is Kevin Ricks. As you can see, I've been dealing with this for 23 years. There have been 20 or 30 raids at this house, many arrests, people jumping over fences. Nothing's been done. It seems like these people have more rights than the people in the neighborhood. Now, what I put together in this package is the latest email that I've got from Codes. My last email from Code says, what's going on with this? And I supplied some pictures. Her reply was, well, thanks for the update. We can't do anything more about what's on the film up there. We can't do anything about the garage door. As you can see the front window there, you can see on the very right-hand side, it's busted, and it's got something sealing the window like a rug or something. All the way on the left-hand side where that little slider is, that's how they get inside the house now. There's a little step right underneath that window. So anybody that comes and visits now, they open that slider and go in. So far, Idaho Power has been there, the gas company's been there, rent-to-own's been there, Jeremy's been there to pick up a couple things and yell and scream and see what the crazy lady that lives there now, when he moved out or he's no longer there, she did all this damage, plus she did a whole bunch of stuff in the front yard, threw out things, there was couches out there and everything like that. Codes did what they could do. I gave you the definitions of what your city code says. And I say, any condition or use of premises which is detrimental to the premises of others, okay? This is detrimental to my property values. If I want to sell my house next week, people, when they see this kitty corner to my house, are going to turn around and run. This is what I look at every single day out of my 2-bedroom windows. This is unsatisfactory. I need to know what's going to be done about this address. What's going to be done about this junk? I'm not the only one that's complaining. If you look on Nextdoor now, people are paying attention and they're making comments. So this is just unsatisfactory. I need some assistance from the city. Nothing against the codes, nothing against the police department, but something has to be done.
Very good. Yeah, no, we appreciate that very much. Our city attorney is looking very, prolonged at that. So this is something we can definitely look into. We appreciate it. And you live directly across, is that right?
I live kitty corner to them.
Okay, on that. So yeah, we will look into this. I appreciate you providing that paper with those definitions. So we can look into what we can do in that regards. And our police chief is still here in the back, so, we'll get together with Mr. Hilty, our attorney, and the chief, and Ms. Valle as well, and kind of see what we can do to help try to clean that up, because yeah, that is ugly. So, and I saw a lot of smiles from our police officers, so it looks like they recognize, I think, that spot quite a bit, so.
Next is gonna be weeds. Mr. Orr knows that I've been in front of the city council 2 or 3 times about weeds that can't be enforced, so that's coming up next.
Okay. To be continued then. So, but yeah, so we will, and I believe we have your contact information here, so we'll get together, and discuss and see what we can do to help out and get in touch with you for sure. So, yes, thank you so much. Okay, that completes our audience participation and moves us into our amended consent calendar. Is there a motion for approval of the consent calendar as amended?
So moved.
And a second? So we have a motion from Councilor Doty, a second from Councilor McGee for approval of the consent calendar as amended. Ms. Geyer, if you'd please call the roll.
Jody,
Yes.
Dottie,
Yes.
Register,
Yes.
McGee, Williams.
Yes.
Very good. So that approves the items on the consent calendar minus 7, 8, and 14, which have been moved to new business. So there's no old business, which then moves us into new business. So new business action item number 1 is to accept the Caldwell Urban Renewal Agency activities report for calendar year 2022 and set the public hearing date for consideration by the URA Board of Commissioners at the next regularly scheduled Urban Renewal Agency meeting on Monday, March 13th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Raylyn, did Rochelle can talk you into coming up and presenting? I love it. So, okay. So the time is yours, Ms. North.
Good evening. So per Idaho Code 50-2006C, urban renewal agencies have to submit an annual activities report. And so I put together this 2002 annual activities report, kind of based off of a conglomerate of the audit and some of the requirements that I received from the State Controller's Office. I'm hopeful next year that I can add some pictures and, but this is kind of the statement of activities. It includes kind of, the profile of the agency, the purpose and goals, the agency highlights, which there's quite a few that we accomplished in 2022, including the closeout of the Urban Renewal East, the 2022 audit, and then the requirements do require that we include the budget and then the budget to actual in the annual plan. So that's kind of what I have before you. I will do a deep dive in the public hearing, but that is what I have before you.
Okay. Very good. Is there any questions, council, at this time? Okay, thank you so much. So do we need a motion to accept that and then move into the next one? Is that? Item 2, okay, very good. So do we need to close item number 1? Or, oh, it's not a public hearing, okay. Very good. Okay, so then that moves us into action item number 2. This is to. Oh, so I apologize. So I guess, yeah, so I guess we would need, I apologize, a motion, and this is to set the public hearing date for consideration by the URA Board of Commissioners. And so we're setting for the urban renewal, or is just to set it, okay. So for urban renewal, which would be Monday, March 13th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Do we have a motion for that? And a second? Very good. So a motion from Councilor Doney, a second from Councilor McGee, to set that meeting for Urban Renewal Agency for Monday, March 13th, 2023 at 6 p.m. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Now we're on to action item number 2, which is to accept the Caldwell Urban Renewal Audit from Ide Bailey for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2022. And while Rochelle is handing those out, so this is kind of a housekeeping matter every year to review the urban renewal budget from the prior year, and to look at that and then accept that audit that's been completed by a outside source. You already have one? Oh, yeah. Do you have one?
Okay, thank you, Mayor, Council. Here tonight to present the 2022 financial statements for the Urban Renewal Agency. Just keep in mind, a reminder that these numbers are as of 9/30/2022. We decided to present tonight in line with the annual activity statement, which is required to be included with that. We had our audit performed by Eide Bailey. They were able to provide a clean opinion with no material issues on the financial statements. I'd like to start off with page 10 of the financial statements, which is a statement of activities. It gives a comparison from 2022 to 2021. It lists total revenues received of $11,028,196, total expenditures of $9,219,376, with a net change in position of $1,808,820. I'd also next would like to have you look at page 13. The final column there lists the statement of activities. It identifies total expenditures at $9,219,376, total revenues of $11,028,196, and again that $1,808,820 of change in total fund balance, leaving a total fund balance of $11,613,650. The last page I want to point out is the budget to actual, as Raylyn identified, which is toward the end on page 27. It shows that the budgeted expenditures was $15,357,746. Actual expenditures were $16,941,513. So an excess of budgeted use of fund balance of $1,583,767. And that was mostly related to additional project costs as we move forward in trying to spend down the fund balance and use up the revenues for projects. We'll consistently likely see a reduction in fund balance over the next couple of years. With that, I will stand for questions.
So maybe just real quick, so this obviously was through just September 30th of last year, because I know there was a number of projects that went through and were approved that are still in the works, but I know with it sunsetting December 20th or 22nd, whatever that date was, that those had to be approved, at least for the urban renewal area that did just sunset. So a good portion of the 7.6 million taken up by those projects, would that be a fair estimate, or is that from something else?
Well, the reason I point out statement of activities is that's closer to the actual fund balance at year end. There's a couple different ways that the financial statements are presented here. One way includes all the assets of the organization, including land, and all the debts of the organization, including bond payments, which don't reflect necessarily in cash. And so you have things presented a little differently. The statement of activities and the statement of net position include those amounts, and the general fund balance is more, it takes those amounts out of the equation. And so we had actual use of fund balance last year about $5 million, and we have a projected use of additional fund balance of about $9 million in the current fiscal year for the projects that were discussed during closeout in December. We also have 2 bonds paid off that I wanted to review that I forgot to mention. So we have 2 final bonds that will be paid off in the upcoming fiscal year, 2016 series bonds will be paid off in March, and the 2008 series bonds will be paid off in September, and that will conclude the final debt for the agency as well. And some of the assets listed here, there's land held for development of $5 million. That, at that time, we had a large land sale that recently went through right after the end of that. So a lot of that land, or value of that land, has since been sold off and put back into the funding sources.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much. Questions from council? Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Okay, and then just a motion to accept the audit, is that correct? Yes, okay. Is there a motion to accept the audit as presented? In a second?
Second.
So I have a motion from Councillor McGee and a second from Councillor Stoddard to accept the Caldwell Urban Renewal Audit from Ide Bailey for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2022. Do you have a voice vote on this, or roll call? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. And real quick, before I forget, I saw Mrs. Adams in the back, so I did not want to miss her this time. I apologized to her this last week when I saw her that I missed her last time. So grateful to have you here, and you have a few students with you, I'm guessing, two. Your two best students, I'm guessing, who should get extra credit for being here tonight. You picked a good night, because it's going to be a quick night tonight. We'll make it really long the next time when all the students come down that missed tonight. So do you mind just standing real quick and just introducing yourself and tell us what grade you're in? So both Caldwell High School students. So just your name and what grade you're in. Very good. Very good. You're going to have to repeat her name for us, Mrs. Adams. We couldn't hear it. Esperanza, very good. Well, welcome. It's great. We're excited to have you here with us tonight. Like I said, you picked a good night to get through something quick. So, and yes, we're going to miss Mrs. Adams. This is her last year, so she is retiring soon. So, appreciate her while she's here. She won't be here next year. So, it's great to see you. So, action item number 3, as mentioned, has been removed, so it's not on the agenda. So that will move us to the items that we did relocate. So we'll start with what was consent calendar item number 7. This is for the appointment of Zach Brooks and Adam Garcia to the Caldwell Urban Renewal Board of Commissioners. I don't believe Mr. Brooks is here this evening, but I do see handsome Adam came back and joined us. So we appreciate you coming back. Those people to your left need to give you a couple slugs in the arm for leaving us, but it's good to see you. So if you don't mind, maybe just come forward, and I think most of us know you, but some may not. So just come on forward and just tell us who you are and a little bit about your background. And
I'm Adam Garcia. I'm a project manager for Architectural Nexus. They're located out of Salt Lake, but I live here in Idaho. Grew up here all my life, been part of this community. Either me or my family, we've been involved in the community, either doing volunteer work or helping with development or actually doing physical work and making this community what it is. So when the opportunity presented itself for me to be part of the urban renewal, I was more than happy to put my name in the hat. I know that being a taxpayer here, we definitely want to, invest our money wisely, and that was probably one of the main reasons why I wanted to be part of the agency, but also contribute to my community as I've always have been and continue to do that. So, but I've been part of this community and doing work here for quite a long time, probably 28 years, I think, is what I've been in architecture. And I've seen a lot of projects come and go and seen this place develop and grow. And I remember the first charrette, talking about opening up the creek many years ago with most of the people here, and seeing it happen is great. So just want to help continue that. Don't want the city to become stagnant, as I've seen most cities do when they start getting momentum. And hopefully I can contribute to making that happen and keep things going. So that's pretty much it.
very good.
Any questions or?
So I was going to say something, I just don't want it to go to your head though. So just
Oh,
remember
well.
that. But Adam is a true gem for Caldwell and what he does for the community. I know we love to give little barbs back and forth to
Yeah.
each other, and I appreciate that. And I really enjoyed getting to know Adam from when I was a planner
Yeah.
of the city, and then obviously on city council and now as mayor. So I have a lot of admiration for Adam
Thank you.
and everything that he's done for our community.
Thank
So,
you very much.
Yeah, very good. Any questions from the council?
No, I just might lightly weigh in, Mayor. I've known Adam, you won't believe this, but I've known Adam for about 45 years.
Yeah.
Since we were in grade school, and we played, football together, Mayor, at that school just south of here. And I know Adam to be, smart,
Oh,
number one, and dedicated to our community. And that's the kind of people that we want serving on these boards, especially one as important as urban renewal. And so I definitely support the nomination of Adam Garcia.
Yeah, very good. Thank you so much. Yes, grateful for his willingness to serve on that. So any other questions for Adam? Okay, very good. And we appreciate you being here.
Thank you,
so
guys.
much.
Thank you.
In regards to Mr. Brooks, Commissioner Brooks, excuse me. So as you're aware that when the new urban renewal area was created, in the northwest portion, we adjusted the number of commissioners to 7, which includes 1 designee from the Canyon County Commissioners. There was a name brought forward towards the end of last year, but there was concerns because the term didn't end until 2025, but they wanted to put that commissioner in place just for a few months. We had some concerns legally if they could actually do that without, trying to adjust that term. And so we waited until the new commissioners were put in, and so they have been in, and this is the name that the 3 commissioners put forward as their representative. So that is why Commissioner Brooks is on that as well. So with that, I would stand for a motion, hopefully for approval of adding Zach Brooks and Adam Garcia to the Urban Renewal Board of Commissioners.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilor Stoddard and a second from Councilor Register for the approval of the appointment of Zach Brooks to the Urban Renewal Board of Commissioners with a term to expire July 1st of 2025, and then for Adam Garcia for a term to expire of July 1st of 2024. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, I was waiting to see if somebody's going to stop me on that one. So we will do a roll call vote, sounds like, sorry.
Stoddard?
Yes.
Register?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Doty?
Yes.
Very good, thank you so much. That motion passes unanimously. So consent calendar, item number 8, approved resolution authorizing a contract with Arthur J. Gallagher and Company to conduct a classification and compensation study of approximately 110 job descriptions over a 6-month period in the amount of $66,325 for the Human Resource Department. And Shelley is here, our Human Resources Director, so if you do have any questions, she is here to answer those. I know that we have discussed this in the past, so this is, and so Shelley did reach out to a number of different companies for bids. This was, I believe, the lowest bid, if I remember right, and the one that she liked the best, so that's a good combination. So this would be to reviewing, again, job descriptions in the city. Really, as we've come and looking at this, and appreciate, Shelley's, it's good to have a new set of eyes looking at things. We have too many people lumped into the same group and categories. So just so you have an understanding, so each position is scored by pay level. Within the city of Caldwell, we have 12 pay levels currently. Just so you're aware, Canyon County has over 300. And now that's a little too far, and I've talked to some people. We don't want to go that extensive, but 12, it's difficult to take 300 plus employees with such ranging things that they do and responsibilities and put those into only 12 categories. So feel that we definitely need more than that. It's probably going to be somewhere in the 20, 30 range, we imagine, but working through a company like this, bringing in some outside expertise to look at that, and then also not only, make sure that their qualifications or the qualifications that show on the job description match what the job is, and then level of pay as well to make sure that we're paying our people fairly. Be looking at basically the 3 cities above us, 3 below us, for comparisons on that as we move forward in this regard. So that is what this request is for. And we appreciate Councilor Doty and asking us to move these to the regular agenda to have them discussed so that the public knows exactly what it is and what their money's being spent for. So any questions from council or any questions from Shelley in regards to that
Mr.
item?
Mayor, just
Yes.
a couple of comments and maybe a question. So of course, we always want to be good stewards of taxpayers' money, so I do support this, and I think this will help us solidify where each job description goes and how much the worth each individual in each position puts to the city. And just for clarification, the 66,000 is coming from which fund?
I may need help on that question. Maybe Ray Link can answer it and save Shelley a walk down.
So it is coming from general fund, the contingency, but it is, I believe we have $250,000 that we budgeted in contingency that we're gonna pull from that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
250,000 for this project or just as total?
In total, but we're only gonna spend 66 of that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion for approval of this resolution?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
So we have a motion from Counselor Doty and a second from Counselor Stoddick for approval of this resolution authorizing the contract with Arthur J. Gallagher and Company. Mrs. Guyer, if you'd please call the roll.
Jody?
Yes.
Dottie?
Yes.
Register?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you so much for that. Motion passes unanimously as well. And so now on to what was consent calendar item number 14, now under new business. And this is approved resolution authorizing the city engineer and public works director to award the informal bid to Boise River Fence, Inc. in the amount of $217,987.46 as the responsive apparent low bidder for automated security gates and fencing at the Caldwell Police Department. Mr. Orton, and then perhaps Chief Ingram. We'll have Chief Ingram kind of talk about this one.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you.
Yes.
First, I'm going to try to keep this very, very brief, but I do have a PowerPoint I want you guys to see in a minute. But first and foremost, I want to thank all the men and women behind me who are here on their own time. The people in uniform have worked all day long. Most of them are SROs. And then the people that are out of uniform are here on their day off tonight because this is important to them. So obviously, there's no secret that in Caldwell, this city is the 14th fastest growing city in America, which is great, and we support that. Oftentimes, the things that get overlooked are infrastructure, specifically our police department infrastructure. And I said this from day one when I got sworn in, one of the most important things for me is keeping the men and women who work in this building safe 24 hours a day. So I'm gonna keep my commitment to them and propose this to you guys. I also want to say thank you to Council President Doty for removing this from the consent calendar and having a discussion on this because it's super important to me and it's important to the people that work in this facility. 10 years ago, this month, this man on the screen here, his name's Christopher Dorner, he went on a killing rampage in the Southern California area. I worked with him for a month in LAPD. He's a well-trained Navy vet, and he targeted police officers who were sitting in parked cars or were basically in parking lots around Southern California. He ended up meeting his maker in the Big Bear area of Southern California. We asked, why is that relevant to Caldwell? What does it have to do with Idaho? Well, 25 years ago this year, Trooper Linda Huff was murdered outside Region 1 District Office up in Coeur d'Alene area. And she was shot 17 times, execution style, as she walked from her writing a report to her police car in the parking lot that was unsecured, just like the parking lot out back here. Extremely important. This, with obviously all the things that we're doing in Caldwell, there's no mistake about it, we're in the news, we're doing a lot of heavy lifting in the community and keeping people safe to make this place the 14th fastest growing city in America. In December of December of last year, so 3 months ago, this is Rialto, California. That, as you can see, if you look closely in the middle top, is a suspect who followed in a police car to the Rialto Police Department and pointed an AR-15 at a police officer and a civilian employee. He was shot and taken into custody. This was in 2019. This is a Downey police officer who was gunned down after getting off shift, parked at the back door. So imagine an officer parking at the back door of the station. 5 gunmen came up, ambushed him, and executed him in his car as he sat there going in to watch. This was in Arkansas. This police officer, just like the one in Downey, California, ambushed in his car, murdered in cold blood. Not only is violent crime an issue for us, but also keeping our officers, when they're coming to work, their most valuable items protected in the safe haven of the city, which is the police station. By having an unsecured parking lot, we have military-grade equipment, SWAT vehicles, we have officers' personal cars out there. Sometimes we're all human, we make mistakes, we might not lock the car, and then all of a sudden, they come back to their car and there's things missing. This is in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, a very similar situation to Caldwell. Unsecured parking lot, officers came back and their cars were ransacked. 2017, Emmett, Idaho. So all this comes back to Idaho. This is not immune. We're not immune from crime in Idaho. Emmett, Idaho, a crazy guy, 2017, made some phone calls to dispatch saying, I'm going to come and I'm going to do some crazy things. And he went and torched 4 out of the 8 service vehicles in the Emmett Police Department's parking lot. What does that look like for us financially? Well, that right there was going to be about $400,000 to replace. Now, thankfully, we have more than 4 cars. But for a city like Emmett that only has a handful of officers, that's their whole fleet right there. So we talk about the implications of financial burden, but really what it comes down to is, what does a life cost? What does a life cost? They're priceless. As you guys know, like I said before in the news, these are from my watch since I've been here, 2 separate cartel major arrests that we made, and we took out 2 separate cartels in these incidents. The incident on the left was a stash house. The incident on the right was the Sinaloa drug cartel stronghold, right down the street, across the train tracks from this police station. To me, it just seems very strange that we don't have a secure parking facility for our officers. Now, obviously, if we forecast into the future and we look downrange, we would want a structure, something that can house both private vehicles and city vehicles, but that's a far stretch. Right now, we need to protect our city cars and our officers and our civilian employees who are walking into the parking lot 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning when it's dark, when they can be, easy targets for that. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit around the valley what other people are doing. This is Nampa Police Station. I get it, we're not Nampa, we're Caldwell. But look at that structure onto the left side of the screen there. That's their parking garage. Their forefathers thought ahead, like I talked about with infrastructure in the city. We got to get ahead of the game here. That is several years down the road. Well, I'm not asking for that right now. I'm asking for something that's reasonable with inflation, with everything going on, to keep our people safe for the 12 hours that they report to duty. That's Canyon County vehicle maintenance. There's not even police officers assigned to that building, but yet they have a 12-foot fence and barbed wire protecting property. Now, I'm talking about protecting life and property, not just cars, okay? That's Canyon County. That's just down the street from us on Chicago. That's Meridian. They have a gate. They have, the officers are protected there. Now, can someone shoot through that fence? Of course, but at least it's going to deter people from gaining access into the parking lot. That's Boise. As you see, Boise has gates too, at their facility. Garden City is half the size of Caldwell, half the size of the police department, and they have 2 gates. Their parking lot's in the very back of the building, not accessible to the street. Now, can someone jump the fence? Of course. But if we know if someone's jumping a fence, there's probably a reasonable belief that something else is going to happen. Rather than someone just walking in the back of the parking lot, a First Amendment auditor coming in, trying to ambush our cops with a camera or a gun or something, or even a suicide by cop situation. We got to protect the city liability as well. Lastly, ISP. Now, we go back to the Linda Huff story, a tragedy. This is ISP headquarters right here in Meridian. As you can see in the small top right-hand corner, there's a gate there. Down a very long driveway. It also goes to the Post Academy. Everyone else in this valley is doing what we need to be doing here in Caldwell. And I think the time is now. So what I'm proposing is we spend $218,000 with the Wallace Perimeter Security Company. They're based, they're an internationally renowned company. They do the industry-leading gates, fences for police stations and military institutions around the world. I can say that if we push this off another year for the next budget cycle, inflation 10%, we're going to see things going up in price. Obviously, I wasn't a part of this budget season, but what I'm asking from you, Mayor, and the council is that we take the money from contingency, which we have a $2.3 million contingency fund balance that we haven't touched this year. We're allocated for $650,000, and then sign the deal right now, and let's at least get the ball started. So realistically, we're looking at several months down the road to get it constructed. But at least it'll be put in motion, and our police officers and our civilian employees, when they come to work, they can feel safe when they're at work. If we truly value our people, we need to show them that. Everyone else is doing it. Obviously, I'm going to come to you for a lot of things in the next couple of years, equipment, training, raises, but there is nothing more important to me as the chief of police than keeping my men and women safe. So I stand for questions.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Questions from council?
Mr. Mayor. Scott? Chief, will this be like a solid wall structure, or will you be able to see through it, or?
It'll be, so I'm going to give you guys some paperwork, but basically I put up here on the PowerPoint, it's going to be a large fence that you can see through, but military commercial grade fencing, 8 foot tall, and then the gates are going to be automated with Prox readers and very, very, very strong. It's not going to be your typical like gated community type fence. You're also not going to have brick walls So we gotta be able to see the public. We also wanna maintain transparency, let the community know that this is the stronghold or the base camp for the community, and that we are protecting them, and we gotta protect our people as well. But yeah, we wanna keep it open, transparent, so people can see in, see out, obviously for their safety as well. But we don't wanna have a big, King Kong style perimeter around the station. That's not what I'm asking for.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Yeah, Councilor Doty?
Go ahead, Dinah.
Well, you can go ahead.
I just want to say that I obviously 100% support this. ISP for over the last 25 years has secured all of their facilities, all of our parking for our police vehicles, not all of our civilian vehicles, though most of those are behind a gate too. We obviously have gated those and fenced those for officer safety and our civilian safety as well. So I 100% support this effort.
I don't, Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I don't have a
Councilor Schwartz.
question as much as a comment, but I've worked at 4 police departments, 2 of those here in Idaho, and this is the only department I've ever worked for that does not have a secure parking lot for their employees, including their personal cars. I've never, as a dispatcher, gotten out of my car on a street to go into work and not had the security of some kind of gate or fence or parking structure, so I think this is very important.
We searched all over the world for the best industry-leading gate fence company. And when I went to Dallas, Texas with Lieutenant Wright, I went to the IACP, International Association of Chiefs of Police Conference. And this company, the Wallace company, was actually there. And they build the best stuff. And they're willing to, they know our costs, they know what we're dealing with, our budget, and willing to ship us everything and then have Boise River Fence Company assemble it all here and put it together in the state of Idaho. And Gordon Graham is one of the founders of Lexipol. He says if it's predictable, it's preventable. That is so true. And if we see these issues keep coming up across the country, Emmett, Idaho, small town Idaho, it's only a matter of time that it happens here in Caldwell, especially with the heavy lifting that these men and women are doing every single day. I got out of a briefing today with the FBI, and there's a lot of things that I'm not going to discuss, but I can tell you that there's really bad people coming from out of the country to here, and we're going to hold people accountable. So it's only going to get ramped up more and more.
Good. Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Yes,
Chief,
Councilor Williams.
well done, thank you. I would predict, hopefully I'm not clouding my colleague's opinion here, I predict you'll get a unanimous approval for this, and I don't think, as you said, we can put a price on the safety and security of our officers. So I appreciate you bringing this forward and making this a priority. At the same time, I appreciate your willingness to allow us to pull this off the consent calendar, because as a matter of it being reserved, what do we call them? Contingency funds, thank you. It's important for us as a council to consider these since it wasn't budgeted. And so for that matter alone, I'm glad to discuss it. Even more so, I'm glad for you to bring this to public attention as you have, so that we all know what's at stake here and why it's important. And our highest responsibility is to take care of you and your officers.
Thank you, sir.
Very good. Yes, and appreciate the forethought. It's terrible when we wait for a tragedy to happen and then we react.
Right.
So prevention is so much better than the cure. So we appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, and thank you for the presentation.
You're
as
welcome.
well. Brent's not the only one with slide PowerPoints these days now, so I'm sure Brent appreciates it too. So with that,
That was great.
we're going to go to a motion. Is that all right?
It is all right, Mr. Mayor. I do have one thing just to add, and that is that we have the Prox card reader capability is not included in this bid. We'll also be doing some work with city forces to get conduit, electrical supply, and things to the gate positions. So expect to see some additional, minor, but additional costs, probably to the tune of something less than $10,000. Lieutenant Wright did some work to find out from our integrated security resources, what the Prox card costs would be, and they gave us a price of $9,000 and change. So just want the council to be aware there'll be some other ancillary costs associated with this.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Do we have a motion for approval of this resolution?
So moved.
And very good. So we have a motion from Councilor Doty and a second from Councilor Williams for approval of this resolution in regards to the bid for the security fencing around the Caldwell Police Department parking area. Madam Clerk, if you please call the roll.
Doty,
Yes.
Dottie,
Yes.
Register. Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Very good. That motion passes unanimously. And again, thank you very much for that. We're excited to see that move forward and again, do whatever we can to protect these very brave men and women and those that aren't here this evening as well. And we appreciate them and all that they do. And we appreciate the council. Actions speak a lot louder than words. I think everyone in here would agree with that. And so I'm sure they love to see the action that you continue to take to show that you appreciate them. So thank you for that. That moves us on to action item number 4, consider acceptance of the finance report. Council Register doing this one, or? Oh,
Open right.
it's his month? Okay, I couldn't remember, so.
Sorry, let me get this to open. Yeah, it won't open right on my screen, thank you. No, I clicked on it. Mr. Mayor,
Council Williams.
I move that accounts payable in the amount of $2,969,010.32 represented by check numbers 167691 through 168000 and payroll for the amount of $535,885.82 represented by check numbers 38352 through 38371 and direct deposits be accepted, payments approved, and vouchers filed in the office of the city clerk.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion from Council Williams and a second from Council Register for acceptance of the finance report as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. And that moves us on to council reports. Council Register.
Things to say.
Very good.
So I was able to, last week, I guess, do a tour of Fire Station number 1 with Chief Frawley. And, I just wanted to put it out there that it is kind of falling apart. So just so we're aware of that. But the other thing that I noticed there, the engineer that gave us the tour, they have so much historical stuff there that it might be a great idea, when moving the station or rehabbing it or whatever is gonna happen with it, to find a place for all of that. I mean, they almost have enough for like a museum. So I think that would be really cool to have something like that, whether it's in our new, the Nancolis building, or leave it there or whatever, but I just think we shouldn't lose that idea. And then also, can you update everybody on the time donation policy that we talked about? We expected it to be here tonight, but it's not.
Yes, definitely, I will in Mayor's comments, so make
Okay,
sure I don't
thank you.
forget, so. Okay, Councilor Stoddard.
Yes, I'd like to remind everybody that a week from this Saturday, we're gonna have a gravy sausage biscuit breakfast at the Caldwell Veterans Hall. And I believe the chamber's involved in that, isn't it, Jerry? Okay. And anyway, all the, Carrie French, from the Disabled Veterans, will be part of that funding, and the rest of it will go to the Veterans Hall itself. So $10 a person, I believe it is. And, it's for a good cause. So I would, like everybody to make sure you tell your friends and your enemies and your wives and everybody else to come. Thank you.
Enemies and wives might be one and the same, depending on, yeah. Very good. Yeah, so we have a flyer up at City Hall, actually, for that.
do you?
So, yep,
Okay.
we do. Councilor Doty.
Just really quickly, I toured the airport, this week, and, Rob drove me around, so it's just great to see what's going on at the airport. There's so much more once you lay eyes on that you understand once you go out there and tour that. So if you haven't done that and you're interested in the airport, I strongly encourage you to do that. I'd also like to give a shout out to our chief. I came in and observed a, training or educational training that he was putting on for the future leaders of Caldwell Police Department. I thought it was excellent, and it just shows his dedication to ensure everybody's getting the same message and that he's very interested in their success. So, very well done.
Very good. Thank you so much. Councilor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple, suggestions with regard to the airport and appreciation of everybody's interest as we continue to make that airport the best GA airport in the state and continue to do a better job of communicating with the public what's going on. We've talked about a wash rack out there, and I just think it's really important that Joe Dory is interested in putting a wash rack in and has expressed that interest previously. I think it'd be very important for us to seriously consider that with reasonable requirements for him. If he's willing to do that, that would save us what we estimated to be around $200,000, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Orton. And I'm interested in saving money, especially if someone else is interested in spending it, and it provides the same service. And so I recommend that we take a serious look at that and find out what we need to do, even if it's different than what our plan was, and maybe even a different location, and might require some different considerations from engineering. But I think if we're reasonable and thoughtful about that, we could save the city some money, and I think that's important. The other thing I want to mention is the bathrooms out there. If you got your tour, you might know that a lot of the hangars don't have sewer, don't have plumbing at all. And so, especially for the ladies out there, and I think our pilots all abandoned us after we didn't want to talk about some other things, but especially for the ladies out there at the airport and at night, there's no lighting in those porta potties. And so they've been reliant on what was the farmhouse during the daytime for bathrooms. And so with the farmhouse scheduled to be closed and the restaurant soon to be closed or already closed, I think we should give some consideration to some facilities, whether temporarily until that building is built, or maybe even more permanently, so that we have a better facility. Our parks bathrooms are pretty succinct, and we have a model and a template for a building that I think could be reasonable. But these are two things I'd like the council to be considering, so that we can continue to provide for our GA pilots the best airport possible out there. So those are my two comments tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Perfect, thank you so much. Councilor McGee?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Orton, did you want to address that?
Just the cafe, so I've communicated verbally with Becky by phone, the intent to provide her a notice that we're gonna ask her to go ahead and vacate along with the other tenants of the building, the farmhouse building, by May 31st. Mark's office has worked on that, so they have that ready to go. And it may have deployed today, I don't know for sure, but I mentioned it to Becky. I called her on the phone, just wanted her to know personally. But I think she has possibly expressed some intention to close sooner. And I haven't directly encountered that, so I don't want to speak to it. But anyway, that's the date that we intended to let her know we needed her to be done by. So.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much. Councilor McGee, we're good? Okay, well, I will just kind of comment on that donation policy. Appreciate that reminder. So, yes, as you remember, we discussed this last city council meeting with the hope to bring that forward to you this evening. So really appreciate Shelley and all her work on that, and really digging deeper. Sometimes when you're first told no, or you can't do that, it's good to look further and just make sure that you really can't do that. And so got some kind of hard resistance at first, but realized that yes, we can. So what that was saying, it was kind of at first like, well, it's an all or nothing. Either you do the short term or you do that. You can't intermix or mingle, which really would have been bad for everybody. And so after some further investigative work and looking further into it, Shelley was able to discover that yes, we can do kind of a mix and mingle on that. And so, but that took a little bit of extra time, and so not having it fully prepared for this evening. So the plan is to have it back in March for the city council. I know that there's been a certain employee that has had some recent medical issues, and so that's kind of what brought this to light. They have more than enough PTO to cover them through an extra couple of weeks. So there's not anyone we're aware of right at this moment that needs this today. So we will have this back in March, done right and proper, and really appreciate Shelley for looking deeper and digging until we were able to find the right answer on that. So, and so that will be to reinstate the donation policy, and even better than before. Before you had to be here a year before you could use that. I think actually this is really beneficial to new employees that maybe come on and have something immediate that comes up and they really don't have that. So we're going to get rid of that for the proposal, and it's basically from day one that's going to be available for all employees. So you'll see better version coming forward in the very near future, and that should be in March for the city council to consider. And that's really all comments I have for this evening. So I just appreciate everybody coming and everything that was discussed. So with that, we will stand for a motion to move into executive session. And if you could please state the the subsections of Idaho Code of why we're going into executive session, your motion, that would be appreciated. Well,
As soon as we go in and then.
well, once we go in, yeah, we'll have them out, yep.
As we do it.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Counselor McGee.
I move that we move into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code Section 74-206, subsection 1F, for the purpose of discussing pending litigation or where there's a general public awareness of a probable litigation, and Idaho Code Section 74-206, subsection 1C, for the purpose of discussing the acquisition or an interest in real property not owned by a public agency.
Very good. And do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion from Counselor McGee and a second from Counselor Williams to go into executive session for the reasons as stated. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes.
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 Very good. That motion passes unanimously. So yes, we need to go use the restroom. We'll take a quick moment to vacate the room.